recently read a New York Times article, and it pertained to billing practices for some hospitals in a few states. I don't think Ohio was one of the states involved, but basically there were some hospitals, and when it came to billing for healthcare, for cases for treatment that resulted from auto accidents, these hospitals were effectively refusing to bill the patient's health insurance and were putting liens on future personal injury settlements. And the reason for that is by putting a lien on a personal injury settlement, the hospital can go after the actual billed amount, whereas if they had to submit the expense to a health insurance provider, there'd be no doubt a contract between the insurance and the hospital. The hospital would bill a certain amount, some of it would get written off, hospital would then get paid a fraction of what was actually billed. So these hospitals essentially were refusing to bill insurance because they knew with these personal injury settlements they can get paid more. And that just struck me as not surprising, I should say. At least with the cases we have come across, a lot of times the healthcare providers will try to avoid billing health insurance for the very same reason that they'll get paid a fraction of the billed amount, and they'll try to bill what's called medical payments coverage, and this is a policy coverage under auto insurance that pays for medical expense if you're in an accident, regardless of who's at fault. So if you get in an accident, it's someone else's fault, and you have medical payments coverage under your policy, you can have some of your expense paid under that medical payments coverage while the case is pending, and then after settlement, ultimately your auto insurance would seek reimbursement from the settlement. But the problem with that, sort of similar to the cases from the New York Times article, is your MedPay usually pays the billed amount, and there's no contract between the auto insurance company and the healthcare provider that's going to provide for a reduced payment. So healthcare providers, at least around here in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, like to bill MedPay because they're going to get paid the billed amount compared to billing health insurance, where they're going to get a fraction of what's actually billed. So what we do with our clients is we make sure any health insurance that is available ultimately gets billed first. Sometimes health insurance may not cover some medical expense, or some people unfortunately may not have health insurance, which at that point would make it logical for us to bill a medical payments coverage, just so bills don't go to collection, make sure those bills are covered. But I did find it interesting in that New York Times article that this billing practices of the hospitals, the same practices seem to be going on around the nation. The hospitals are out to get what they can, get the most they can, and it's interesting because at least in Ohio there is a statutory provision under the revised code that requires hospitals to bill health insurance when that is available. So sometimes they may not be complying with their statutory duties, but part of the service we provide with car accident cases, we make sure proper insurance is getting billed, health insurance, making sure that's getting billed, and making sure those healthcare providers aren't inappropriately billing medical payments coverage or any other possible insurance out there.